Hi kids, it's nice to be with you all again, and we have completed our lessons on Daniel, and today I will put into the mail some papers for you to work on that go with our new series of Sunday school lessons. I don't know what you all have been doing while you've had to be home so long, but I have been out in my yard a lot. I really like to mow grass and plant flowers and plant seeds, and I have 2 rows of peas coming up in my garden, and a row of beans and a row of beets and 8 tomato plants and lots of flowers all over the yard. And I like to take care of it. It means a lot to me, so I like to take care of it. I get rid of the bad weeds, and I water it and feed it and just take care of it like everybody takes care of things that they love. So just like your parents take care of you during these weeks at home with you, I'm sure that they've played games with you and they've read to you and done schoolwork with you, and of course they fed you and made sure you were clean and well taken care of. You know, we even have bird feeders in our yard and bird houses, and I noticed the other day that the bottom of one of the bird houses was starting to fall out, and I know that there's a family of birds in there. So yesterday I took a ladder and I got a big long strip of duct tape, and I very carefully and quietly just put the duct tape across the bottom of the birdhouse so that the little baby birds wouldn't fall out. So like I said, when you care about things and people, you take care of them. Well, our lesson today is about a lady who was taken care of by her cousin. And you know, there are 2 books of the Bible that have ladies' names. And one of them is Ruth, but the other one is Esther, and that's the one that we're going to be talking about. I think probably one of the most interesting things about the book of Esther in the Bible is that the word God is never mentioned, and yet God's people are. So hopefully when people think of Christians, they think of God. And so that's the way it is with Esther as well. They think about Esther and her cousin, and they just naturally think of God. Well, Esther was a Jewish woman and not very old, but her parents had died when she was very, very young. And so her older cousin, who was named Mordecai, took care of her. And he made sure she had everything she needed, and I'm sure she did a lot of housework to help take care of herself and Mordecai. But not a wealthy family, but they had what they needed. Mordecai had been an exile, which means he had been taken out of his homeland near Jerusalem, like Daniel and his friends, and now he was in the land of Persia. And there was a king there in Persia, and his name was Ahasuerus. And King Ahasuerus was used to getting whatever he wanted. And he had actually gotten mad at his queen and had said, "You're not my queen anymore." So our lessons start out with King Ahasuerus wanting a new queen. So there were men in his kingdom, and I'll show you a little picture here. There were men in his kingdom who were his advisors. So they would help to give him good ideas about things. And they knew that he was sad because he didn't have a king or a queen. So he listened to their idea. They said, "O king, I think that we should go throughout the land and bring all the beautiful young women who are not married back here. And then you can choose among them who you would like to be the new queen." And King Ahasuerus thought that was a great idea. So, sure enough, all the women who were young and beautiful and not married were brought back. And they didn't get to see the king right away. They had to wait a whole year before they would go before the king. So here we have Esther, and she was told, in the Bible, we're told that she was a beautiful young woman, and Mordecai, her cousin. I'm sure it was probably pretty hard for Mordecai to let her go to be looked at by the king, to be considered to be a queen. But Mordecai did ask a favor of Esther before she went. He said, "Esther, don't tell anybody that you're a Jewish woman." And because Esther was a very obedient person and loved Mordecai, her cousin, she said, "Okay, I won't tell anybody I'm a Jewish woman." Now, evidently, Esther was so beautiful that the man who was in charge of all these women, he paid special attention to her. She was his favorite, and he gave her 7 maids to take care of her. And for a full year, they would have makeup put on them and oils to make their skin really soft, and they would, their hair would be done up really pretty, and they would have jewels to wear and beautiful clothing. And Esther sure wasn't used to this. Can you imagine if you were up for being chosen to be a queen and you were spoiled like this for a whole year? Well, this is what happened. And Haggai, the fellow who was in charge of all the women, he really paid extra attention to Esther. I think he thought she would make the best queen for the king. So after a whole year went by, sure enough, it was Esther's turn to go before the king. And the Bible tells us that she was very pleasing to them. Almost as soon as he saw her, he knew that Esther was the one for him. And so a crown was put on Esther's head, and she became the new queen of Persia. Wow. Well, the king was so excited. He had a big banquet, a party in her honor, and it was just a very exciting time. But still, Esther kept that secret. She was not going to tell anyone that she was a Jewish woman. Well, a little time went by, and Mordecai, who of course loved Esther very much still, even though he couldn't see her and be with her, he would get messages to her. And so he would walk by the palace every day hoping to hear from her. And so they kept in touch. One day he was outside the gate and he heard 2 guards of the palace talking. And they didn't have a very good plan. They had gotten upset with the king, and they were plotting to kill King Ahasuerus. Well, Mordecai knew this was wrong, and so he got word to Esther that this was going to happen. And sure enough, when Esther got the message from her cousin Mordecai, she told the king about it. And of course, the men were captured so that they couldn't harm the king. And then they were hung. They were killed because they had been plotting to kill the king of Persia. Well, next week we'll hear what happens next with Esther and King Ahasuerus and Mordecai. But I do have a Bible verse for you. And there's a big word in this verse. And the verse is, "There is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God." This is a good verse to remember, whether it was back then or now, that the authorities or the people in charge of other people, they are put there by God. And sometimes it's really hard to understand that. And sometimes we worry that the right person isn't in that position. But we need to trust God more. That word authority means the person that's in control or the person that's in charge. Your parents are the authorities in your life. And God, of course, ultimately is the highest authority over all of us. So I hope that you try to learn this verse. Mom and Dad can help you do that, or an older brother and sister. And I hope you have a really good week, and take care of the things that mean the most to you. Your brothers and sisters, help your mom and dad, and just think about how Mordecai took care of Esther, how Haggai took care of Esther, and just do for the people you love the most what you would want them to do for you. I love you all and I miss you, and I hope that you have a great week, and I hope everybody in your house stays healthy. See you later. Bye.